So today we're going to be talking about the Last Sky project. And this Last Sky project requires you to blend multiple images together. And I wanted to look at,
We're going to look at two artists, Tiepolo and Radon.
and Tiepolo uses a lot of strategies for his heavenly skies. First of all, he's painting on a ceiling. So basically, he is using perspective to make the viewer believe that the building has an open top and you're looking right into the sky. And he uses these architectural elements that have a 3-point perspective applied to them, so they look like they're moving from the building up into the sky. And he also does that with the figures as well. You're seeing the baby cherub from the underside, and the baby is floating. And the other thing he uses is aerial perspective. So 3-point perspective and also aerial perspective. Aerial perspective, if you remember, is things that are closer are more contrasting, larger, and redder. And as they move further away into space, things get blurrier and bluer. And you can see that operating in this image as well. The other artist I like to look at for this is Redon.
Radon, rather than use perspective, uses another strategy.
But what he does is he tries to control the light source so that everything is lit in a similar way. And then he allows things to lift off the ground in terms of size and shape, which I think is really interesting. So with our next painting, we're going to mash up a few different resources together. This is how I would go about doing this.
So the first thing I do is open my image bank and I'm looking for birds or things that fly, and I'm looking for things that inspire me. Then I screen capture maybe another bird, and I could take the wings off of one and put it on another. Let me see if I can find a standing bird like that one. So I like this little owl too. Now I'm looking into my sky folder and finding something that interests me. And then I'm also going to choose something for an object in the front. Let's use this guy. Finally, I'm going to choose a gradient to be a blending layer. Once I have all my items, which is basically a foreground, middle ground, background element, I bring it all into Photoshop. And I know this script shortcut, which is it loads files in a stack. This script uploads multiple image into a Photoshop document, and each image will have its own separate layer. I like to notate my layers. We're going to call this a blending layer, and we're going to call this the mushroom. We're going to call this the sky. We're going to call this, these are my birds. So now I'm going to rearrange my layers so that I have the blending layer last, the sky next, the mushroom third, and the birds on top. I'm going to work on the background first. So here's my sky. And here's my gradient blending layer. And we're going to turn that to overlay. And what overlay does is it blends those two images together. Now I'm going to work with the mushroom. Now I'm bringing in the birds. transform it into something more in perspective. And I can show you how that might work. Oh, I lost his tail, but you can start to turn the image to get a more of a sense of three-dimensional space. I like it, but I need the tail, so I'm going to undo it. I like to order my composites into a foreground, middle ground, and background. In this image, I am thinking about that. Actually, I'm starting to think that these should be on branches, and this is the thing it's landing on. Let's do it that way. So that this bird in this corner is the closest, the mushroom is the middle, and these birds are further away. And this thing is sort of in the space over them. And then the clouds and the blending layer are connecting everything together. This is my final set of images. I'm going to decide which one to paint after I study them each for different qualities. I feel this final one has a really strong sense of fluttering, so I probably will paint this one.